Hey there! Let's explore some big things that happened in the web dev space in the past month. First, Even You had an interesting presentation on the Vue School channel where they looked at the plans for Vue in 2023. For those who didn't keep up with Vue in the past couple of years, it still is the third most used UI library behind React and Angular. By the way, we'll also discuss some really interesting changes happening in the Angular world in the second part of this video. In February, we reached the 1-year milestone since Vue 3 was released, and this version surpassed 1 million weekly downloads in NPM. However, this is not the interesting bit. What I really like about Vue is its dedicated community and collaborators. Vite is one of the great contributions this community has offered to the web dev world. Since this tool is now part of other major frameworks like Astro, the team behind Vite will continue delivering on this great product. The Vue team is planning more frequent, smaller releases with an emphasis on stability, especially in Q1, when the main focus will be placed on quality of life improvements and bug fixing. However, we have some pretty interesting developments lying ahead for the rest of the year. In Q2, most work will be done on server-side rendering. I find this revealing for the future of front-end development. In recent years, we've seen a shift in the way single-page apps are built. If a few years back, client-side rendering was pretty much the de facto solution, now we are seeing more frameworks exploring various ways to rely on the server for rendering. I believe we need to thank the likes of Quick and Solid for this one, since they are pushing things forward performance-wise. Their results are so good that all big players have to adjust and improve in order to compete. Since I mentioned Solid, apparently they also inspired Vapor Mode, an alternative compilation strategy the Vue team plans to work on in the second part of the year. Its main purpose? More performant outputs with less resources used. All in all, the roadmap for Vue in 2023 is straightforward. Create a faster, more efficient framework which is easy to work with. Next, let's discuss Deno. First of all, if you have a few minutes, you should go through this Sequoia article that came up this past month. It's an interesting review of Ryan Dahl's journey from building Node.js to understanding its pitfalls to moving away from Node and ending up building Deno. However, what I really want to discuss is this blog post article from the Deno website. I've said it multiple times. We are at an inflection point in front-end development, and the days of pure client-side rendering will soon be gone. Just like Vue, everybody is investing a lot of effort in involving the server into the rendering process. Deno defines real SSR as a fully server-side rendered app with isomorphic JavaScript and a shared data model. They already did a lot of exploration in this area with the Fresh framework and the Islands architecture. Combine all this with Deno's edge deployments and you can see why everybody else in the space is currently playing catch-up. The next story is on Angular. If you follow my channel, you probably realized that Angular is the only popular framework I didn't look at in any of my videos. Let me explain why. Despite the fact I've been involved in multiple Angular projects and I had to work with it closely for a couple of years, Angular is, in my opinion, the framework furthest away from the idea of a modern JavaScript-based UI library. Okay, now that all Angular fans close this video, we can have a real conversation. Granted, Angular had a big impact in the front-end community, and is probably one of the main reasons TypeScript became so widely adopted. However, for years, I felt like this is a framework built for enterprise software, over-engineered and with too many constraints. Well, in the last year or so, it looks like they are finally switching gears. Angular 14 introduced standalone components, removing the need for module management in some instances. Then, just a couple of weeks ago, a request for comments post was opened where they are announcing drastic changes to their activity model. The alternative? Signals. Clearly, this switch will improve both the performance and the bundle size of Angular apps. Just to iterate how over-engineered and complex Angular is, check out this promise from the RFC. Using signals enables us a viable path towards writing fully zoneless applications, eliminating the overhead, pitfalls, and quirks of Zone.js. There are too many dependencies and too much overhead in an Angular app. It looks like they are finally moving towards the right direction, again thanks to the pressure from the other players in the space. Okay, let's continue with some other industry news. In February, Gatsby officially announced they are being acquired by Netlify. Why should you care? Well, it all ties into what we discussed already. For those unfamiliar with it, Gatsby is a meta framework built on top of React. It uses React's UI capabilities to render web pages, but employs various rendering strategies to optimize the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript bundles sent to the client. Next.js from Vercel is a more popular alternative, but now Gatsby is also backed by a big platform as a service player, so I expect its adoption will start increasing. Interestingly enough, we are seeing more front-end frameworks deeply integrated into cloud solutions. The bottom line for the developers is that we are now going into this new direction where we are building full-stack apps using only JavaScript and TypeScript. We can integrate these apps with various third-party APIs, deploy them in production with just a couple of clicks, and really enjoy the performance benefits of HTML-first interactive web apps. Before moving to the last story of the list, please let me know in the comments if you find this type of content useful or not. And, of course, as always, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Finally, the 2023 ECMAScript specification was released. It is a long read, but I advise any front-end developer to go through one of these specifications at least once in their career. I know this is a tedious read, so you might find it more interesting to check out the TC39 proposals repository, where you can read about various language features and ideas currently explored. There are 5 stages to each proposal, starting from stage 0, where input is allowed into the proposal specification, and ending with stage 4, when the addition is ready to be included into the formal ECMAScript standard. It's a good thing to always keep an eye out on these features. On one hand, you'll know ahead of time what are some of the next steps in the future of the language, and on the other hand, using a transpiler like Bubble, you could use some of the features not yet added into the official spec. Let me know in the comments if there are any other big things you've seen happening in February, and until next time, thank you for watching.